Live from London, this is BBC News. Long delays for some passengers travelling to the UK. A nationwide issue with the border force system leads to problems with eGate passport controls.
I'm live at London Heathrow, one of many UK airports affected, leading to lengthy queues for incoming travellers.
So let's go live now to our reporter David Waddell at London Heathrow Airport. David, what's the latest there?
So yes, growing queues here as at other UK airports. This is just one of 5 London airports affected. Many others across the UK, including Edinburgh, Glasgow and Cardiff, and a number of other English airports also affected. We understand that the issue with the eGates isn't so much a malfunction with the eGate system themselves, but something to do with the interface, with how it interrelates to the border force system. And essentially that's meant that the eGates aren't functioning for passengers trying to come into the UK. That includes British citizens, but also citizens from a number of other countries whose passports entitle them to use these systems. Because they can't use the eGates, they're having to be manually processed, and that's obviously going to take longer, not just for them, but for all passengers trying to navigate the system.
Tell us more about that impact on passengers. We've seen some pictures of very long queues.
Yes, great frustration. We've seen, you've been sharing some pictures and I think tweets from passengers who are very frustrated, having perhaps been on holiday or been away on business, returning to the UK, returning to these airports. I should say that also includes the Eurostar terminals in Brussels and Paris. So they're coming through, they're expecting to make their way home after trips, or perhaps they're here on holiday themselves. So it's a source of great frustration. We've seen some fruity language in some of the tweets, and the pictures have shown quite long queues of people are trying to navigate their way into the country.
Fruity language is quite one way to describe it. But David, is there any indication of how quickly this might be resolved?
Well, you shared a statement from the Home Office and from at least one of the airports, I think it was Heathrow, that's been affected. A number of airports are sharing quite similar statements, maybe using slightly different language, but essentially communicating the same point, that there is some kind of technical challenge that they're trying to resolve between them. And until that is, then we don't really know how it's going to be resolved. We don't know how long it's going to take. We can only hope for that those many passengers affected that it will be as quick as possible. But it has been a problem since, at least we understand from Gatwick anyway, from at least 7 or 8 p.m. last night.
All right, we'll leave it there, David, but thank you very much, David Waddell at London Heathrow Airport, for us there.
Live from London, this is BBC News. Long delays for some passengers travelling to the UK. There's a problem with the border force eGate passport system.
I'm live at London Heathrow, one of many UK airports affected. Both here and at Gatwick, the Royal Navy has been asked to step in to support the border force system.
Let's get the very latest now. We can go to our reporter, David Waddell at London Heathrow. David, great to see you. What's happening there?
Well, it wasn't a great start to the bank holiday weekend for border force. We're told by London Gatwick that the problems began at about 7 or 8 o'clock last night, and they've persisted through until today with massive queues at airports up and down the country. Now at Heathrow and at Gatwick, we're told those queues have started to die down, but that's because the Royal Navy has stepped in to support the border force system, to staff some of those desks where people are being processed manually. Having said that, there have been plenty of people who have suffered difficulties. We spoke to one person who travelled into Heathrow from Chicago, and we asked him what he'd seen.
When I arrived at the airport this morning, we were first informed that the British Airways flight to Manchester had been cancelled in case something went wrong with the system.
So that passenger was queuing, or at least waiting, for 2.5 hours to get through Heathrow. Now that seems to have been a typical experience for people travelling through Heathrow, which is of course the busiest airport in the country, one of the busiest airports in the world. So it's been under particular pressure, with so many people who would have been able to kind of automatically transition through the airport have had to then use the manual system to get through. Having said that, we've been looking on Twitter, and while we've seen lots of complaints about what's been happening, we've also seen in the last 20 minutes or so one particular tweet from someone who said they're really impressed with how Heathrow is handling this, and they've said they think that the eGates system has been solved. Now I put that to Heathrow Airport, the press office, They've said they're unable to confirm that the eGates system is solved, but they are of course looking into it, and we will update as soon as we can.
David, I know you'll keep across it for us. Thank you.